eventually you get absorbed in, and you are Sonic.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to No Repeat, a podcast where we pick 3 songs every week with no repeats and no do-overs to create a perfect playlist for every occasion life throws at you. Joining me are my co-hosts, Tyler Reed.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
And Sean Evans.
Hi.
So this week is the first of our end-of-the-year best-of series, and for this week's episode, we're going to be talking about our favorite remixes and covers of 2020, but we still need your challenges for 2021. Our list of potential challenges is getting pretty low. So, Tyler, if people have challenges for the new year, where can they send those to us?
Hey, everybody. If you have an idea for a challenge, you could submit those to No Repeat Pod on Instagram or Twitter, or you can always email us a big old long list at norepeatpod@gmail.com. Thanks so much.
So this best of series is a new thing for us this year. We usually only do the song of the year, but it felt like we needed to broaden things out a little bit this year for 2 reasons. First of all, we're tired of putting holiday-specific songs on the playlist because they mess up the flow. And secondly, we just wanted more time to review some of the great stuff that came out this year. And so when Tyler was pitching this concept to us on our Patreon exclusive after show, Billy Joe Armstrong's Middle School Notebook, support us for $1 a month and you can get that, remixes and covers came up as a natural addition to the Song of the Year episode. Because a lot of times, there are really great versions of pre-existing songs that come out that make you rediscover something or that you get really excited about an old song again. And there just wasn't really space for us to talk about those. We also just don't pick a lot of remixes and covers on here in general. So it seemed like a good opportunity to do that. And I know we've talked a little bit about what makes a good cover or what makes a good remix on here. But for this specific year, I'm curious what you guys were looking for. Were there trends that you were seeing in remixes and covers this year? What's kind of the landscape for you all going into this challenge?
I mean, there's always like 3 billion like EDM covers or like some sort of like slow down, like down tempo acoustic ballad version of whatever. Like there was, I'm pretty sure it's still a trend that there is just like gonna be like a cover of an old song done by some contemporary artist for some and Netflix show that is only tangentially related in some way. So those have always existed. Like I Googled a lot of like top covers 2020, and like of course there's like playlists of like what of exactly what I was talking about. So like actually finding like stuff that's like what I would consider good was fairly difficult. Because I don't feel like really there's anyone that's really like aggregating these in any way. I actually found like a website called coverme.com or something. I don't remember, but it had like every month they would cover the best covers that came out that month. And I was like, this is great, incredible. But naturally I don't really just find covers or remixes most of the time. They just kind of happen. Usually in your Discover feed. That was my process, at least. It's just sort of just trying to find anything. Just like what's actually out there that's happened. It's very difficult.
Well, I think, really, I would just wanted to, like, how I did it was I went on Spotify and looked for a recently updated covers playlist, because I know that there's a market for the stuff out there that they like to hear, like, remakes. I'm one of those people. I've never been shy about admitting that on this show, that I love a good cover. And I think that there's like so many creative ways to redo a really good song and make it your own in a way that is distinct and notable. So I actually went through like a couple playlists and I was like, no, haven't heard of this song. No. And it kind of stunk for a little bit. Just like I heard some good stuff. I heard some stuff that I had listened to, but none of it was the ones that I had heard or the ones that I liked. They weren't like 2020 songs. A lot of our 2020 artists, really, they were more so like, oh, this is a Nirvana cover by somebody back in like 2016. And I was like, okay, but this is a 2020 challenge. So you need to like find something that is of 2020. And that's kind of how I found mine. Sorry to Apple Music listeners. You're going to have to go to YouTube or Spotify to get mine because it was recorded on a Spotify session. But we'll talk about it in a little bit. And I hope that you will be able to find it someplace, and I hope that you like it. But that was my process, really. It's very like straightforward. Sometimes, I'll do like soundtracking or, go to revert to my playlist that I have saved or something. But this was really like one of those genuine music scavenger hunts that I think all of us kind of do that occasionally, maybe not all the time, but as that's a lot of work. Like this is kind of like when this challenge came in, to actually do like these end of the year challenges is difficult because you don't just like song of the year might be the easiest one, right? Because you're kind of going back and saying like, okay, I picked this one, or I really like this one, or maybe this one slipped through the cracks and I was like, hey, blah, blah, blah. But when you have to do like knowing that we have 3 or 4 of these all in a row, where you're like, this has to be something for the year. Not only does it have to be kind of reflective, but it also has to be of our time too. But I think that's what's going to be interesting talking about everybody's song, because I feel like with Taylor's song in particular, you can really kind of delve into what 2020 was about. So,
yeah, I think there is a definite market for the cover song at this point, maybe even more so than the remix. I feel like for some reason the remix feels like a very 2000s phenomenon, whereas the cover, particularly like cover of a one-hit wonder from the 80s or 90s, feels like a very 2010s, early 2020s problem, or I guess tactic, you could say. And so you have a lot of these like online sessions things, like Sean's pick comes from Spotify sessions. Pitchfork does a YouTube series of these. I feel like there's some other like music blog or label or something that does one of these, that does like a covers series. And so it does kind of feel common at this point to have a cover of a song that people are like mostly familiar with but kind of forgot about, that's not like a mega hit but was still pretty popular. And so I kind of went in that direction with my pick because I knew that that was like a phenomenon that we've seen a lot of lately, and some of them are better than others, we can say. I really struggled with remixes this year because I felt like, for one, I was moving back towards rock this year in a way that I've been more maybe hip-hop and electronic focused over the last 2 years. And so there's just not as much remixing going on in that space. But also, I haven't found anybody who I really enjoy as like a remix producer lately. I feel like some of the most popular ones, people like Marshmello, for example, are just working in a style that I hate. Like Tyler is visibly rolling his eyes, listeners, at the mention of Marshmello. It's not a style that I can get behind, and I understand that like it's popular with some people, and I'm not gonna yuck on their yums, but it's not for me. I want something a little more restrained, we'll say, is maybe a polite way of saying it.
I would say the remixes have kind of shifted genre, because I do feel like it's sort of found a new home in like the hyperpop spectrum, where it's kind of like there's sort of like a few different like producers that are kind of doing stuff, and then there's lots of sort of like just vocalists that are willing to kind of like hop on a track and do some guest vocals. And so I feel like that's kind of like been the format, is a lot of sort of like reinterpretations through having guests on. And so I think that's fine. I think hyperpop is a great genre for that, because I feel like it kind of is pushing in a really intense direction, and it kind of allows for a lot of experimentation. So I would say that's kind of where I've mostly been like looking at for like when I've seen remixes that popped up that people have been noting on. But I do think it's important to note that we did not choose any of the songs from the new Miley Cyrus album, which had a cover of Heart of Glass, and what's that one, Zombie by the Cranberries. She had like 2 covers on it.
Oh, I didn't realize there was a Cranberries cover on there.
Yeah, I think Zombie's on there, or she definitely did it this year. And Midnight's.
I really liked her Heart of Glass cover a lot.
Yeah. And she did like a mashup of Edge of 17 with Stevie Nicks, which was kind of cool, kind of weird, because Midnight Sky was kind of already an homage to that song. So like I feel like that should be noted, that's pretty important that happened.
I feel like Miley has always been kind of at the top of the covers game, because it's like people forget that she has an amazing voice. And then every like 18 months or so, she'll come in with a really like kick the walls down cover of something. And it's just like, oh yeah, Miley can really sing. And then people listen to her solo records and they're like, what? Why is she like this?
Yeah, because
like I feel like this year's record is the first time where it's like, just give her things to sing on. Like,
yeah,
that crazy stuff she was doing with Flaming
incredible.
Lips was garbage.
The rest of that album, just all right. It has Joan Jett and Billy Idol on it, and I'm like, I couldn't even tell they were on this. So, but anyway, I just wanted to say, I think maybe that I think it should be noted that at least that she did that, and I think that could be something that we could see going into the future. I just want to point that out there because I feel like she's pretty prominent, pretty important figure, and I can't imagine that people aren't seeing that and trying to get some of that.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, James Blake put out a covers EP like literally this week, and they were just a little too down-tempo for the playlist, but they're incredible. I do think as the pandemic wears on, we're going to be seeing a lot more covers, because I feel like everybody had their like rush to create their pandemic album.
Or two.
Cough, cough, Taylor Swift. But now it's like, okay, are you really going to keep writing original material, or are you just going to like pump out some covers real quick? Like Billie Joe Armstrong did a whole covers series and then ended up releasing a covers album. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but it is a thing that he did. But I think we should probably just dive right into it with some picks. Do we want to do covers and then remixes? Does that seem fair?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, so Sean and I both picked covers, and Tyler picked a remix. So,
all right, well, you could have just said that out loud.
Sean, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So this week I chose "Don't You" and then that "Don't You Forget About Me" just clear by Baby Doobie. So, if you're a millennial, most of you probably know this song from, at some point in time, you've seen The Breakfast Club on some Sunday afternoon, probably in spring when there's no sports on some channel or on VH1 or something. You've probably seen it in your life, and you probably discovered this song there before you found it any other place. And also listeners of the show will be familiar with Baby Doobie because I think I've probably picked like 2 of her songs, throughout the course of 2020 because I love her sound and I love her songwriting style and I like her voice. There's just basically so much about her and their music that is just so fantastic. I think I picked it kind of as like an example of like a shoegaze revival kind of thing. And that's kind of why I thought this was a fantastic cover because I feel like a lot of people are really familiar with this song, but this is kind of some of Baby Doobie's previous album to the one that is out now was like delicate and kind of lighter, more upbeat, has some like very treble-y sounding things, very like indie pop. And this song is very shoegazy, like distorted and heavy. And when you hear like everything is so crunchy and rock and roll, I guess. And like the like alternative kind of feel, you know what I mean? That when you hear knowing about the band's influences and what they sound like, and then being very familiar with the original version of this song, man, I just love it. It's such a cool sound. It's downfall of it a little bit is that it's flat, but I expect that in listening to shoegaze. Like if you've listened to Dinosaur Jr., you listen to Deftones, you listen to any shoegaze, it's all flat. It's just like the whole way through, you know? Right.
Those are some wild picks for shoegaze, but all right. Okay.
No, there are like heavy shoegaze elements.
Okay.
There.
I mean, that's fine. I'm just saying those are some unconventional picks, but all right.
Like 80s shoegaze, metal shoegaze kind of feel. Like it's like jazz.
It's like the intersection of like post-grunge and stoner metal. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So like that's why I thought this cover was really good. And I appreciate covers that are like this, that kind of have the same spirit and have a little bit of this song feels right being done distorted, because it almost has like a little bit of that like rejection rock and roll, the heartbreak rock and roll, which is very like Baby Doobie's style anyway. But then they also do this really awesome like gang vocal at the end of this one, where you just get like everything is now full, everything seems like layers upon layers upon layers, but it's never really, there's not a lot of depth, which is a very shoegaze thing. Yeah, I just thought that was really cool, because 2020 has been like, how do we say this? Like, it's not the new normal. It's like reimagining the past a little bit, because we're kind of like forward progress has been somewhat halted. Unless you were like a bedroom artist, and then in which case now your style is just proliferated because everybody wants to do your stuff. But like if you were on tour, you're not. If you were, you can just go down the rabbit hole with that one. But I'm curious what you guys think, because I don't know. I feel like this one could be a little controversial.
I mean, I love the original Simple Minds version of this song. It's one of the best like new wave pop songs of its era for sure. And so I was a little bit skeptical of anyone covering it, to be honest, because that vocal performance on the original is just so distinctive. But I was excited about Biba Doobie because she actually just released another cover this past week. She released a cover of Winter Wonderland, the Christmas song, which is very dreamy and lush. And, I was surprised by how well her voice suited that song. And so I was like, well, maybe I can get down with her doing Don't You Forget About Me. And I agree with almost everything you said. I think the distorted guitars bring so much to this song. The fact that it's a live cover, you can tell that the band has been like rehearsing this for a tour that never happened because they're so tight. Like the drumming on this is just so powerful. And because it's a live recording, it's got so much punch to it. Like,
yeah.
I cannot imagine like being on the floor in a club when they start playing this track and the crowd is just like, oh, are they really playing this? Like that would just be such a cool moment in the show, like towards the end. I feel like this would have been a great addition to their set list. The gang vocals actually don't work for me though.
Okay.
That's the one thing that bothers me, because they're a little bit too out of tune for how small they are. So my basic like chart of gang vocals is you can have people more or less out of tune depending on how many people there are, even if it's just people duplicated in the studio by recording multiple takes, because the aggregate of them will make it sound in tune. But this really just sounds like the 4 or 5 musicians that would be on stage singing it. And so when certain notes are out of tune, they really jump out at you like a pinprick in the ear.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like if you were in a venue with a crowd of a couple hundred people singing along with this, it would sound great. The problem is there just aren't enough voices to compensate. And so it ends up sounding kind of childish and hokey, like middle school choir practice.
All right.
I get why they did it. I get why they included it, but it doesn't work for me.
But I totally see what you're saying, though, when it's like, part of me feels like this was never meant to be recorded.
No, definitely not.
Like, this got recorded as a session because it was supposed to be like, but then again, part of me is like, you don't, okay. Oh man, Gaslight Anthems, Bob O'Reilly, probably the best cover I've ever seen live.
Would not have worked in the studio.
Maybe even better than the original, and it just kind of like set the bar for me personally about like what covers can honestly be like, even though it was a cover and basically its truest form with the exception of vocals being different. But like, I don't know, man, some things aren't meant to be recorded, and if they are, you kind of like accept them for who the artist wants them to be because it was supposed to be like a bonus for you. And that maybe I like kind of just pooped on that a lot, but at the other time I think that it's a little bit special because nobody got to experience that, and in turn now we all get to experience it because it's recorded forever, right? Because we're like able to do that. So it doesn't always have the same sparkle that it did, but at the same time, it's a little magical seeing as how, oh man, next year's tour is going to have to be super awesome.
No one got to see Biba Doobie live. Yeah. No, I'm with you.
Well, that's kind of like Carpenter Brute's version of Maniac that I picked a while back. I mean, that was like a live version that we just had to listen to on Spotify. We're like, all right, well, we have to listen to a bunch of people in the crowd making sounds before I actually get to listen to this awesome version of this song. It's like you almost have to pay like a dark bargain in order to listen to a good cover sometimes, which like live versions for me are honestly the worst possible thing because I don't want to hear the crowd. Like if I'm there and in the crowd, great, incredible. I don't want to have to listen to this on my desktop with people cheering and stuff. So like I get it. That there's kind of like a specialness to getting some covers. Anyway, I was ready to take a huge duke on this song until you kind of contextualize it as like a shoegaze style performance because it like really reminds me of My Bloody Valentine's Only Shallow, where it's just like this like really intense like guitar riff right in the opening, and then it just kind of really mellows out for like the rest of the song. But like that song, super memorable, super exciting to listen to. And I think maybe for me, what I was thinking was, I was like, well, I don't know if I love her sort of soft vocal style over something so intense. Like, it felt like the levels could have been like brought down in like a way. Like, she could have come up and they could have come down like a little bit. I don't know how that would have worked out realistically, but I, given that context, I think it makes sense, and I like it. I feel like it kind of like how we were saying that, like, it's maybe not mixed. Like, I like the mix, but I think that it would be interesting to hear what like a studio recording of this would sound like and how that would change my perspective. Because I do think there's something to the rawness of the instrumentation in this. Like you can feel it. I think that's important. And I would say that I don't think this song invalidates the original version, which I think is important. And I think that it puts itself in its own special place that I think would not be shared with the original. So I think that it does a good job of both being a unique performance and carving a niche for itself. So I think for me, I think it's a very successful cover.
So then I've got our other cover tonight. And my pick is a cover of Third Eye Blind's Never Let You Go by RAC, Matthew Coma, and Hilary Duff. So let's get the elephant out of the room already. Why is Hilary Duff on this? Don't know. It's the only music she's recorded in like 20 years. I know she was supposed to have a new Lizzie McGuire show coming to Disney Plus this year that got shelved. Maybe it was part of a promo campaign for that. Who knows? Who cares? I found this because I love RAC. I've picked some of his music before. I think he's a really interesting producer who blends organic instruments with synthetics and a lot of mallet percussion in interesting ways that gives a bright alternative pop vibe to things. And so when this cover came up, it literally like just appeared in my new music mix for the week, kind of like Tyler was talking about. And I was like, boy, that riff sounds familiar. And then the vocals came in and I realized, oh, it's that 90s song. And it just immediately brought back all of the nostalgia I had for 90s power pop, but in this contemporary way that I really enjoyed. And I forgot just how well structured this song is. I feel like it almost works better with the dueling vocals of Matthew Coma and Hilary Duff than with the original single vocalist, because they kind of feel like they're singing to each other or off of each other in a way that's fun. I feel like they have a nice vocal harmony on the choruses that's compelling. The lead guitar line that gets interpolated as a synth on this cover is iconic.
Yeah.
I do think that it is maybe a little overused in this cover. That's probably my biggest critique of it, but it's also overused in the original song, so like I'm not really sure how to square that circle. The things that I really enjoy the most about this, though, are just the atmosphere. It feels so big. It feels so expansive in a way that the other version, the original Third Eye Blind version, doesn't.
Yeah.
I love that bridge with the big echoes and the chorus on the guitars and everything. It just feels huge. It feels like it's giving this really well-written pop song the justice it deserves, which is why I picked it.
Yeah. I think I want to go before Bill Hader goes over there, because you can tell that he's already like ready to.
No, you're right.
He's ready to
dunk
just
on this.
totally trash this song. And I want to talk about some more positive qualities of it. I think there's like two things that I want to pull out. First off, I think this is like a marvelous song for 2020 because Hilary Duff's rise to fame was definitely her the jet plane fueled by, I don't know, like straight up cocaine infused jet fuel of Disney. Which has definitely found itself again in 2020 and managed to avoid all of the negative PR that could have gone with a place that has like completely run off visitors by opening up a streaming service and basically just pumping their brand into your home. And giving you the avenue to, if you can't leave your home, at least you can relive your past on your couch, which is hilarious. So and to Hilary Duff's credit, I actually really like her on this. I think this is really good, and it kind of made me wonder if she could like kind of redo something else, like if she could make some more music. I would be interested to hear what's going on, because no matter what Hilary Duff does at a cover, let's also remember that Taylor Swift literally recovered all of her music that she's ever made this year because of a terrifyingly awful copyright battle that she had to get into and basically kind of lost and will probably always kind of lose, which is horrifying. And we talked about that on other shows, but, just putting that out there that 2020 is the year of the cover. Okay, like Swift made it the year of the cover, whether or not you wanted to say it or not. Like Paul McCartney could redo all the Beatles albums. That might like slightly tip the scales in terms of covery of the year. But what I do like about this song is RAC has like such a turned up low pass filter on this song that like when you listen to Hilary's voice, you get all the delicateness that her voice has. Because I feel like Taylor was saying, the guitar lick for this song is already in a higher range. And if you had that synth at where it probably would be at if you didn't have a low pass on it, you would lose it. Because you kind of lose the male vocals in this too, because it doesn't stand up a bunch. It doesn't really stand out against the low pass. There's not a lot of contrast there, but Hilary's voice stands out fantastic against it. And that's why I feel like it's it provides the balance. It's I don't know, what's a good one? It's the
I get what you're saying. Her voice is in such a high range that he kind of compresses everything in the middle range to serve her voice, to the detriment of Matthew Coma's voice.
Exactly. And that's not bad. It makes you, for me at least, it makes me see it.
She is clearly the star here.
Right. It makes her voice really stick out, right? Because there's not I think one thing with synth music, and as we'll see from Tyler's, generously called remix, when you put a lot of electric instruments together, it expands a lot of stuff, but it also collapses a lot of stuff because there's not a lot of room to play unless you have absence. And if you don't have absence, then you're basically just hate shoegaze, hate my song for whatever you want, because this isn't a shot at you, Tyler. If you don't like my song because you feel that it's too flat and it's too all the time, just constantly just boom, 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 boom. You have to have that here. And it's done really well to the detriment of kind of the song. But that said, I still think it's a wonderful song. I like it. I think it will go fantastic on the playlist, regardless of where it drops. Oh my God, what is it? You got the hyena cackle going on over there. Just go. Good, trash this song, okay? Jeez.
See, listen. I realized I said some strong words. I said stupid off the cuff, but I didn't actually really fully mean that. I was just kind of being dumb because I just feel like when you say the words out loud, some random band with Hilary Duff covering a Third Eye Blind song in 2020, you're like, okay, all right. Well, I mean, that's a choice you made. Really, mostly the most horrifying part of this pick is that I had to like look at what Third Eye Blind looked like in like the early 2000s. They're really intense for being a band that's not very intense. They have like a double guitar in this music video, but that's beside the point. I don't want to have to look at those people ever again. They're very weird. But no, I mean, like, I think this is it's definitely not a downgrade. It's either a side grade or a slight upgrade. I think the only thing for me, I feel like, is that maybe like the tempo's a little fast. It's a little bit faster than the original, and I feel like that I'm almost like, when I listen to them side by side, it kind of like messes me up a little bit. And I feel like
I actually like it being faster. It feels dancey, whereas the other one always felt kind of like ponderous to me.
Yeah.
okay, I'm willing to be convinced, because usually for me, I feel like most songs, like older songs, probably like that are at least 30 years old, could probably just stand to be like have their BPM increased by like just a hair, and then it would be like number one hits all over again. So I feel like this is probably a good example of that. I mean, like, there's nothing ever wrong with that song, you know? Never Let You Go, good song. This song, good. I'm not like 100% like in love with the whole thing, but I definitely think it's a cute combination, and I think it's definitely like a pleasant surprise. It's cute. I don't know. I'm glad Hillary's back. Maybe hope she does more.
Well, then that brings us to Tyler, who picked our only remix for this year. Tyler, what do you have for us?
This week I chose Ringtone by 100 Gex featuring Charlie XCX, Rico Nasty, and Cara Caro Benito.
My boy's got his own ringtone. It's the only one I know. It's the only one I know. My boy's got his own ringtone. It's the only one I know. It's the only one I answer. I think I might be addicted to your kisses. Love struck, baby. You're the piece I'm missing. I know you're what I'm looking for, and I'm so tired of wishing we can do it now or later. It don't make a difference. Send me a
So I feel like it's like a music crime that we haven't talked about 100 Gex at all in this podcast this entire year, considering this is kind of the year that they like completely blew up. This is off of 100 Gex's 1000 Gex in a Tree of Clues, which is an entire remix album that they sort of like helmed, but they just basically remade all of their songs with a bunch of features and stuff, with some of them having like all the ones featured in this song. That Patrick Stump also is in here somewhere in like a different track off this album. Incredible. So this is kind of like what I was referring to when there's like kind of like a weird world where hyperpop is messing with like featuring weird people or like interesting combination of things. Like Dorian Electra has The Village People on one of their tracks. So that's kind of weird. But anyway, so Ringtone, the original, is sort of like a very sort of casual, nice sort of like song about your boy, and you got the ringtone, like that's the only one that they know, you know. Oh my god, I need to start that over again. So the original Ringtone is sort of like a very down to earth, like sort of like, oh, I'm getting off work, I'm gonna sit on the couch, I'm gonna crack a beer, I'm gonna, you know, text, I got all these group messages or whatever. But sort of the remix is sort of this larger than life, blinged out version of this song, which is almost like a rap cipher featuring some of the biggest names in like the genre right now. And I just think that it is. I think that the chorus of Ringtone, I think, is so catchy, it gets stuck in your head, and I think that using it just sort of as like kind of like the bass line, as sort of like the break in between each performance, I think is really kind of fun and sort of breaks the mold. It's sort of like taking like a song structure as usually used in rap music and kind of adapting for it this weird sort of pop electronic like experiment in a way. And I mean, just overall, I think everyone has really cool and interesting performances. You know, I love Charlie XCX, Sarah Benito, one of my favorite vocalists in the game. Rico Nasty, haven't dug a whole lot into, but I love what I've heard of her so far. Very intense, very like metal. And I think what's great about this is that each instrumentation behind their bar is sort of flavored in their style, which I think is really fun. So yeah, very unconventional, I understand, but I figured it was worth throwing something a little weird into the mix.
Taylor.
All right, so I'm I'm going to do what Sean did, and I'm going to talk before Sean brings on the hate.
Oh no! All right, whatever you say, I don't care.
All right, so my thing with 100 Gex is that I feel like every song on their debut album felt unfinished, except Money Machine. They just felt like the beginnings of songs. And so all of these remixes on this new version of the album, which is basically what this is, these feel like the completed versions of those songs, which is really what I wanted. And it makes me wonder if maybe 100 Gex should actually be like a production team rather than actually just their own act. I don't know.
You've hit on something there.
There's something about...
To be fair, I think that's their intent, because they've produced so many tracks this year. They've been part of a bunch of different acts, so I think maybe they had to put out what they...
And if that's what they're trying to do, then I think this is like the purest form of that. Because this slaps. I love what they're doing here. I think it's a great interpolation of a hook that they wrote, and then like taking it and expanding it and kind of like pulling it apart piece by piece and using different pieces for different vocalists, like you said. Like, I love that the instrumentation for Charlie is so different than the instrumentation for Rico Nasty. And then the Caro Caro Bonito portion is kind of like the bridge between both of them, the two styles. I think Charlie's voice also serves this hook naturally without autotune in a way that the original version required autotune to sing. And it creates a different character for the song. It feels more like a song than an experiment, which I feel like a lot of the first 100 Gex record felt like an experiment. And that's not a bad thing. Like, I appreciate that for what it is, and I love that they're pushing the boundaries of pop music. But I think this is a lot more accessible and a lot more listenable for the average person, and I think that's what makes it successful. Rico Nasty's verse on this is incredible. I am right there with you. She's a name that I had seen around the internet, but hadn't really listened to. But after listening to this, I'm going to check her out because she is given straight fire on this track. Love this. Yeah, I really want to see them do more of this. I want to see them work with other people more because I think I cannot remember their actual names for the life of me, but the two of them are really fascinating musicians in their own right and work together well, but I feel like they shine when they get to collaborate with more people. So I hope this is a sign of what's to come.
Okay, ready? I'm just going to put it out there on the table. I'm going to put my... Taylor, you're going to have to indulge me in this for a second. We're going to do Tyler's therapy session.
Uh-oh.
So I just want you to pose to me a question about my song tonight. Just go ahead whenever you're ready.
Oh, I just have to ask you any question about your song?
Yeah, just probe me as if you were going to do a psychological thing, and I'll respond you how Tyler has responded with this song.
Gotcha. Is the aggression of your song a sign of your aggression towards a loved one?
Wow, well, I'm a $2 hyper pop fuckboy, so...
Oh my god!
Tyler's out here just slanging bars and dripping polygons and yeeting himself off cliffs.
The more, you know what I see, and the reason I say that, like, hot take right there, because normally pretty censored on this show, is that he finally did it. Tyler, I love you to death. This is totally a compliment towards you. And Taylor, you can back me up on this one. It might be untrue. But you know how Tyler gets in these phases where he's on the precipice of something and then he commits and then he commits again and then he commits like a third time to that thing. You know, like he loves, and let's talk about it in the example of this one. So he loves pop because he picks like pop stuff all the time. Whether or not he wants to say it, don't deny it. It's fine. We love you. I love Lana Del Rey. Nothing wrong with it. She steals from Weezer or from Radiohead, and Radiohead steals from other people, so it's fine. We've talked about this on the show just probably in the past 2 years. Okay, so we knocked that one out of the way. Then he was like into borderline hyperpop because he's all into his like little anime stuff where there's like a little bit of tweaking and a little bit too high and kind of stays. And then he gets into 1,000 Gex, and it's basically like commentary on the commentary. It's super hyperpop's commentary on hyperpop's commentary on pop, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
And I love Tyler because he just is who he is, you know? He's finally reached the third level of the dream. So now he's going to go there on his own until he gets the kick and he falls back out.
I mean, truth be told, I just want to put it out there that I tried to listen to like this whole remix album, and I was like, I don't know what I'm listening to, like half the time. So let me just be clear: it's really super weird, but like this was like an album that like lots of people were like talking about for like a while. So I was like, well, let's just check this out, and this one just literally stuck out to me the most. That's all I'm saying.
It's okay. You're still like. You're at the first step climbing up the side of the pyramid.
Yeah. You're
going to get there, and then you're going to be like a total r/mu edgelord, and it'll be fine. It's fine.
But I like this. This is really interesting.
All right, Sean.
I don't know if hyperpop is the genre for me. But its deep unsettledness and incompleteness for the sake of incompleteness as a musical style is similar to watching like somebody unbox a box.
You're being really abstract tonight, Sean.
That's because his pick is really abstract. I feel like his song is a little bit above me, so I can't really say that I don't like it because it's like art for art's sake almost. And it has its own little, and that's what makes it fun, right? Because it's not supposed to be like all heavy and bloobity bobbity blee. It's all like, you know, it's fun time, you know.
I think we should take this moment to say that, Sean, I think you would be a great art professor. I think you would do really well and just.
Thank you.
Sean once gave me a copy of a book called Why Painting is Like a Pizza: An Idiot's Guide to Understanding Modern Art.
It's true.
Which I feel like is on par for this pick.
As a final note, I've been making a more active attempt to just say, this song's interesting. I want to hear what you all think about it. I found it interesting. I'm not saying that it's necessarily the perfect or best song, but it's a song that I thought was worth talking about. So I feel like I've shifted. Sometimes I feel like I'll pick a song that I genuinely love, genuinely want to share. And sometimes I'm just kind of like, I need a sniff test on this one. And this is like one of those times where I was like, I think this is interesting and could be a way that we could anticipate the music industry going in a way.
Yeah.
Just wanted to share it.
Yeah. No, I totally see that. And 2020 is the weirdest year.
Hot take there, Sean. Very original.
It's like, yeah, surprise. A little controversial thing I'm saying right there. But all right, notable B-sides. Anybody got some other covers that didn't get on here but were pretty cool?
So I only have one, and I can't pick it for two reasons. First of all, it violates one of our cardinal rules, which is no repeats. Because a facet of the no repeat rule is that a song is the song, and any versions or covers or remixes are the same song for the purposes of the playlist. We established that like episode 1. So this is a cover song that's already on the playlist, and it was also only available for one day as a charity exclusive download, and it's not available to stream
Iris?
Almost anywhere. But yes, Tyler, you're right. It is the Phoebe Bridgers and Maggie Rogers cover of Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls, which is as twee and emotional as you could possibly want it to be, and they don't want the world to see them. They just hope that you understand. It's a great cover. I'm really mad that I couldn't pick it.
Because when everything is literally broken, they just want you to know who they am.
And also, they really want you to vote blue. Because I think they donated all the money to like voting charities or whatever.
Yeah. This week, apparently I had lots of choices, but I chose the weird one. I got Heart of Glass by Miley Cyrus. I got Fancy by Orville Peck. I have, actually there was a cover of Rock and Roll Star, which is an Oasis song that Cara Pianino covered in 2017. Unfortunate. Trust covered Iris, a previous artist on this show, so also some Iris love there.
Everybody covering Iris this year.
Yeah.
Only like New Guitar Hero or something?
Must be.
Maybe. Redbone by Charlotte Jane. Got War Pigs by Sarah King. The cover of the famous techno song Better Off Alone, house song Better Off Alone. Purity Ring covered. And then Weird Fishes by Leon Lahavas.
Obscure Radiohead cover for the win.
It's one of the hottest albums this year. Check it out.
Sean, any B-sides?
So I have one, but I don't really. It wouldn't work for the challenge, but I really thought about considering it and just seeing if I could get away with it. But I really like Patti Smith's folk-ish cover of "Smells Like Teen Spirit."
Ooh,
that is a great cover.
I think that it's just really good. So I don't know. That's not one I have. It doesn't really fit the challenge, so technically it's not a B-side. It's just kind of like notable mention for lifetime achievement of awesome cover that you should be.
Definitely. Well, Tyler, if people want the world to see you, where can they find you?
Hey everybody, you can find my design illustration work at rootpats.club, and as always, find me on the socials as Rootpats Club, Instagram and Twitter. I did not stick the lady on that one, but you only do it once, baby. Do it live.
Sean, if they just want to know who you are, where can they find out?
You can find me on Instagram at TallySean.
And if you want to break a promise to your mother, you could follow me on the socials as at TC Olmstead. All of these covers will be on the official No Repeat podcast playlist. And we'll be back next week with another episode of No Repeat.